mode.
Hello everyone, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time zone you're in. My name is Brett Tussaus. Welcome to the Have You Seen Deltek Vision Lately webcast for the year 2013. Glad you guys could all take some time out of your day today and see what's going on with Deltek Vision. I've got a lot I want to cover today, and I'm going to go ahead and get started and move through this pretty quickly. The phone lines are muted, but you certainly can ask questions via the question tool in GoToWebinar, and we'll make sure that we try to answer those either in real time or take those offline and answer them after the fact as well. So again, thank you for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. So as I said before, my name is Brett Tussaus, one of the directors of product management here on the Deltek Vision team. And what I really wanted to start off with here today is to let you know that we've got a lot going on. We have done a lot of releases since we last did our Have You Seen Vision Lately webcast. And I want to talk to you about what's going on and how this could provide a lot of new value for you in your organization. And before I do that, before I get into the details of all that is going on, one of the things that we would like to point out is the fact that we are really working in the vision space to push vision into other areas of your organizations and really allow you to leverage the value of vision at levels that you haven't been able to before. You're going to see some of this as I go through all the stuff that's going on here today. Accessibility is a big part of pushing this adoption throughout your organizations. Different devices, being able to access components of vision anywhere, anytime. Looking at our interface and making it more role-focused, more front office, so that we can get those people that are developing your business and analyzing your businesses closer to the vision product and getting more accurate, more complete information so that the back office people have better information to work with. And then also analysis is a big part of this. We want to make sure that we're giving you guys the ability to make effective decisions for your businesses. In the economic climate that we're in today, it's more important than it's ever been to make sure that we're making those effective decisions. We want to make sure vision is giving you the information to make those effective decisions. So we are really trying to drive deeper adoption and greater return on investment with the value that vision provides to your organizations. So what we're going to talk about today is all the things that sort of drive that deeper adoption and tell you about all the stuff that's going on. First off, I'm going to start with talking a little bit about Vision 7.1, which came out at the end of June, and the features and highlights from that version that we want you to start taking advantage of and realizing the value of. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about Vision Performance Management. A new release of our Vision Performance Management module was included with the Vision 7.1 release, and it really allows you to analyze and review organizational performance data like you've never been able to before. Then I want to talk about Navigator and all that's going on in our Navigator space, brand new tool that we introduced last year that we're very excited about, and we hope you're excited about too. And then finish up by talking about our mobile offerings with the Deltek Touch release, and then to look a little bit beyond what we're showing you here today. Not sure if we're going to have a lot of time for open question and answers, but we'll try to answer your questions in real time as we go through the session, as you use the webinar tool to ask questions. And we'll certainly try to follow up any questions that we don't get answered during the webinar today. So let's go ahead and get started. And as I said, let's talk about Vision 7.1. We really feel that with this release, we have started a new release cadence for the Vision releases, which really sets us up to do 2 releases a year, one in the summer and one in the winter time frame. And while at first sight that may think, well, that's a lot of releases for us to consume, but what we're really doing is looking at these releases in a little bit different way than we have historically, trying to make them a little bit smaller, more consumable, easier for your organizations to put in place and to upgrade. We've started to see this already with the adoption that we've had with Vision 7.1. I'll talk a little bit about more of that in a second. But like I said, we've been responding to feedback from all of you that we want to get more value into your hands at a quicker pace. And Vision 7.1 is the first example of that quicker release cadence that we're committed to sticking to moving forward. Now, in terms of what's in Vision 7.1, there's really 3 sort of areas that we focused on. First of all, ease of use and convenience, some things that we've done just around basic ease of use. We try to carve out a portion of every release to address some ease of use things, convenience things, interface things, user interface things. These are the types of things that often come up in the many wish list items that we get from all of you. And as I said, we try to carve out a part of every release to address these types of things. Another key focus of Vision 7.1 is supporting your processes. You're going to see things that we've done, that we've put in place to help better support your processes, your internal processes as you run your projects, as you run your businesses. And then another part relates to administration and compliance. We understand that there's a lot of work that goes into administering Vision, and we also understand that many of you need to comply with certain requirements that are out there for your business. So we're trying to get new features, new functionality in place to ease the administration and also make it better so that you can comply with the many requirements that you have to comply with in regards to your business. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk sort of at a highlight level of various things that we've done in Vision 7.1, and then I'm actually going to jump into a live demonstration so that you can see some of this new stuff live and start to understand how your organization can take advantage of it. So when it comes to supporting your processes, three primary things that we did in Vision 7.1. First off is transactional document management. This is a new document management component that's included with the core part of Vision. It's not a separate module, and it allows you to attach supporting documents to things like expense reports and AP vouchers, so that your people will now be able to attach their receipts directly to their expense reports when they're creating those inside of Vision. Another aspect of supporting your process is invoice approvals. We've moved the invoice approval process, that is the client invoice approval process, into the Vision system so that you can capture and facilitate that entire invoice approval process directly within Vision. And then lastly, when it comes to developing proposals and submitting those proposals for the many jobs that you guys are trying to develop through your business development efforts, we've now offered an integration with Adobe InDesign so that you can go ahead and use Adobe InDesign to generate your proposals directly from Vision. So this is just a quick screenshot of how you can start to attach supporting documents to expense reports, things like receipts related to employee expenses. And I'm going to show this live here in a second. And then this is also a screenshot from the invoice approval process. Again, the idea here is that we can capture that process of approving your client invoices directly within the Vision system. And then, of course, leveraging all of the information that's available within Vision from a proposals perspective, that related to project experience, employee resume, project lists, all of that type of information, and being able to integrate that and generate proposals inside one of the most popular creative tools, that is Adobe InDesign. Now when it comes to the administration and compliance component, there's a few things that we've done here, primarily around security. One of the things that we've done is we've allowed you to give you a self-service in terms of resetting passwords. If a password is forgotten or a user ID is forgotten, you'll now be able to reset that directly from your login screen versus having to go through an administrator to get that reset or get reminded of your user ID. We've also made some changes in the roles and users and passwords areas of the product. For example, the users and passwords application is now an info center. So those of you within your organizations that are administering security will find this new users info center model much easier to use than the previous users and passwords application. And then we've also added some things related to distribution of authority so that you can comply with certain things like SOX and audit requirements that are out there when it comes to distribution of authority and who has control to do what in various areas of security. What you're seeing on the screen now is an example of the dialog that will come up if you've forgotten your user password or your ID. And that dialog will automatically generate a random password and email it to the user. So again, they don't have to bother an administrator to have that information sent to them. In addition, we've made some changes in role security, as you can see here, that allow us to, again, affect that distribution of authority so that certain people have rights to do things as a result of their role security while other people do not, so that you can meet those distribution of authority requirements. And then lastly, in terms of the highlights, before I get into the live demonstration here, we've also addressed some things, as I said earlier, in regards to ease of use and convenience. We've expanded how the project WBS lookups work so that you can get deeper into and better, more intelligent lookups when you're searching within projects. We've also added some things with our new social tool called Kona and integrated those aspects inside of Vision. So for those of you that are starting to get into the world of social business, you can actually integrate that directly into Vision. In addition, we've also made some changes, some simple changes, but things that people certainly like, the ability to add icons to the navigation tree, and then also some more direct access to both Navigator and Kona within the Vision interface. This is just a quick example, as I said, a highlight of the work breakdown structure lookups functionality that we now have today, and then also some of the integrations with Kona. But as I said, I wanted to start with just some highlights to plant some seeds for what we've done in Vision 7.1. And now what I'd like to do is jump into a live demonstration of Vision 7.1 so that you can start to see some of this new great functionality directly within the product. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the transactional document management functionality. So as I said, this is a new component of Vision. It's part of the core product. It's not a separate module that needs to be purchased separately, part of core product. And what transactional document management allows you to do is to attach supporting documents to both expense reports and AP vouchers. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and open up an expense report. So you can see this is a normal looking expense report that you guys have all seen in Vision. You can see I've got an entry in this expense report already for travel. And we've added a new column in the expense report. And you can see I've got a little icon there with a document with a check mark by it. That means that this particular line in my expense report does have a document associated with it already. If I go ahead and click on that, I'm going to get the supporting documents dialog. But instead of looking at that one, let's go ahead and add a new line to this expense report so you can see how this process works. So I'm going to go ahead and make this travel again. We'll make it hotel. And I'm going to go ahead and use the same project for this line. And you can see now that this document looks a little bit different. Instead of a green check mark, it's got a blue arrow, meaning that there is no document associated with this yet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that icon. And I get my supporting document dialog. At this point, I can attach a document that's already associated with this expense report. Or I can go ahead and click Upload and select from a list of receipts that I already have. This is for my hotel stay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the Hilton Garden Inn receipt. Click Open. It's going to upload that document. Check mark to see that it's associated with this line in my expense report. I click OK, and I now have that document associated with this line in my expense report. A couple things to point out here is that this document is now part of the Vision data. It's not a link to the document. It is actually part of the Vision data. So the source file that I just uploaded that from can be deleted and gotten rid of. It's actually part of the Vision source data. The other thing I want to point out in regards to transactional document management is on the back end, we're relying on a native component of SQL Server called FileStream. And the reason I point that out, I don't want to get too technical, but the reason I point that out is because everything that you're doing with this transactional document management can be done with the SQL Server functionality that you already have in place. There's no additional infrastructure or SQL Server license that need to be purchased to support this transactional document management functionality. Now, of course, attaching documents to things like expense reports and AP vouchers is not where it ends. This information is also then exposed in the billing process further downstream. So if I go ahead and open up interactive billing, and I'm just going to bring up a project here. And if I switch to the Expenses tab in Interactive Billing, I can see a list of all my expenses, and we've got a new column here as well called Document. And you can see which one of these expense items actually have a document associated with it. If I go ahead and go to my Invoice menu, I also have a new item here that's called View Supporting Documents. If I go ahead and click on that, I can see all the documents that are associated with this particular invoice, and I can tell it whether or not I want this to print with the invoice. So I can have some documents that are there purely for referential purposes, or some that I want to expose when I submit this invoice to the client. I can then go ahead and preview this invoice, and it asks me if I want to go ahead and include the backup report and the supporting documents. And once that preview comes up, I can obviously see my invoice, and then I can also see my attached expense receipts in this case. So not only attaching them, but also exposing them downstream. So that's a quick sort of highlight of what transactional document management is all about. Great new piece of functionality that allows you to get those very critical supporting documents into your AP vouchers and expense reports. Now let's talk about invoice approvals. This is another new key feature in Vision 7.1 that gets to supporting your internal processes. In this case, the approval and management of client invoices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into interactive billing again. And this time I'm going to go ahead and bring up a number of different projects. And the first thing I want you to notice as these projects come up is we've got a new field up at the top that's called invoice status. And you can see the status is listed as, for this one, submitted. I also have a new comments button here. If I go ahead and click that comments button, I can see the comments related to this particular invoice submittal. It's saying, William, please approve by, and it gives a date. If I scroll through the different projects that I've selected here, you can see the status change. So this particular invoice was rejected by William Apple. And if I go to comments, there again I can see why William rejected this. And Martin, who in this case is the biller, can go ahead and take some action there. If I continue to scroll through my projects, you can see this invoice status is new. And that's because it hasn't been submitted at all. So let's go ahead and go through the process for actually submitting this particular invoice. So that you can see that this invoice has a number of expenses and labor already on it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Invoice menu, and I'm going to click Submit. At this point, I can add some comments. I can say, Martin, please approve by 9/13. Close that, save those comments, and click OK, and this submittal is now on its way. Now what happens now is the approver, in this case, the project manager, the way I have this set up, is going to get a notification. They can get notified by email. They can get notified on their dashboard that they've got a new invoice out there that needs to be reviewed and approved. So let's go ahead and log in as Martin now, who's going to get that notification to tell him that he has some invoices that have been submitted. So you can see in my alerts on my dashboard, I've got invoices that are waiting for your approval or rejection. So I'm going to go in as a project manager, and I'm going to go to my invoice approvals item. So in here, I'm seeing a list of all the invoices that I've had to review. And at this point, I'm seeing all statuses, so submitted, approved, and rejected. Now you can see the one that I just submitted is the Moscone School. And I can do a number of different things with this invoice approval at this point. I can preview the invoice if I'd like to. I can go ahead and look at the comments on it, so I can see that Martin is expecting me to approve this by the 13th of September. I can update my fees if I'd like to. And one of the other things that I can do is I can go ahead and view details. I can also approve and reject it from here. If I go ahead and view details, it's going to bring me into a new application called Interactive Approvals. And that interactive approvals will allow me to do a number of different things. I can see additional details on this particular invoice. I can still view the comments and preview my invoice just like I could on the previous screen. But if I have security rights, I can also start to make adjustments to the labor and expenses. Now again, this is controlled by security, so you may not want to give this to all your approvers. But it does give you the flexibility to control and to give some more access to people so that the invoices can be updated and approved. At this point, I've seen the details. This all looks good to me as a project manager. I'm going to go ahead and approve. And say to William, that he can go ahead and final submit this. I click OK, and we are on our way. So that's a quick look at the invoice approval process and the new invoice approval functionality offered within Vision 7.1. Again, taking that process that you go through within all your offices to approve those invoices and get them out the door and capturing it within Vision. All of those comments, all of that information that went along with the process are now a part of that project record. So now let's look at custom proposals integration with InDesign. The first thing I'm going to show you is, really quickly, I'm going to open up what's called a merge template. And a merge template is the component that you use within Vision to build your proposal templates. And with Vision 7.1, we now support, as I said, InDesign. Previously, we only supported Microsoft Word. But now we support InDesign. So I've got a sample project experience called a project cut sheet, whatever you'd like. And I'm going to go ahead and click Update. And what that's going to do is it's going to open Adobe InDesign. And it's going to bring up that template. So here is that template. And it's going to bring up a dialog that allows me to edit that template. So what you're seeing on here are a number of placeholders for both images as well as text from the project record on this template. So say, for example, I wanted to go ahead and go into this text box in InDesign, and after the client name, I want to go ahead and insert the location for this particular project. We'll say location city. So I'm going to go ahead and select location city from my merge codes. I'm going to click Insert, and then I'm going to see that that location city is now included within my template. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close, and now I've got a template there that I can use to actually generate a proposal. So now keep in mind what the whole custom proposals module is all about. The idea with custom proposals is all of the information is stored and maintained within Vision as sort of the one source of truth, so that when I'm generating things like project lists and project cameo sheets and cut sheets, all of that information is the same every time that we output it from, in this case, Vision. So I've got a custom proposals record here now that has two sections. It's got projects and resumes. And it uses those templates that or a number of different templates like I just showed you within InDesign to generate a proposal. So at this point, I can go ahead and click Merge Proposal, select Merge Multiple Sections. In this case, I want to merge both projects and resumes as one document. I can go ahead and click on the Merge button. And then what comes up is my full merge proposal. So I can see a project experience cut sheet for this particular project. You can see that location city that I just put in there, some images, some description text. Here's another project sheet, and then, of course, one of my resumes for the person that's going to be working on this particular project team. So this new InDesign integration, very, very powerful, and puts the custom proposal functionality into the tool that your organizations use most commonly when it comes to your creative work and your desktop publishing. So then let's talk about some of the changes within security. As I said, we've done a number of changes that relate to making it easier to administer security within the system, as well as allow your organizations to be compliant for various auditing requirements. So the first thing I wanted to show you is the User's Info Center. If you remember the old Users and Passwords application, it was just a grid of all the users. Now you have an Info Center that functions just like the other Info Centers within the system. So I can do lookups, and I can edit the information in this form view, or I can edit the information in list view. So it makes it a lot easier to administer the user accounts within the system than the previous Users and Passwords application. The other thing I mentioned is that we now have the ability, sort of a self-service ability, for a user to reset their password or get reminded of their user ID on the login screen. So on the login screen, you're now seeing a link that says forgot your password or user ID. If I click on that, I'm going to get a dialog that, I'm going to get a dialog that allows me to say, you know, I forgot my password, here's my user ID, or I forgot my user ID, here's my email address, and it will go ahead and then send me a randomly generated password, or it'll send me a reminder email telling me my user ID. And then lastly, what we did within role security that relates to compliance is we've added some more granular functionality around control of security within the system. So within the system now, we now have the ability to control either full or read-only access to the user accounts, And then we also give the ability to allow someone with access to the user's accounts to only change things like password or disable or enable logins, but not be able to change anything else about the accounts. So this helps, like I said, with that distribution authority functionality so that you control who has very specific access when it comes to, in this case, user accounts within the system. And then one of the other things that we've done in Vision 7.1 is related to Kona. And if you're not familiar with Kona, Kona is Deltek's new social collaboration tool. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to go to kona.com. That's Kona.com. A great new powerful application to allow your organizations to collaborate better on your projects, on various initiatives within your organizations, and throughout your projects external to your organizations. Again, if you're not familiar with Kona, I strongly encourage you to go check out Kona.com to learn more about it. We feel so strongly about the social collaboration aspect of businesses that we're starting to bring integration points with Kona into Vision. In this case, what you're seeing on the screen right now is my Projects Info Center. And we have a new item on the Project Info Center that says Kona Space that allows you to associate a project record within Vision with a Kona Space. So right now this project is associated with no Kona Space, but if I go ahead and select the pull down here and I can see a list of all the Kona Spaces that I have access to, I can go ahead and select Benson Research Lab, and this project record is now associated with this particular Kona Space. I can also do the same things within opportunities. So what I'll do within the Opportunity Info Center is I'll bring up an opportunity record that I already have associated with the Kona Space. So in this case, I'm in the Biomed Tech Lab expansion, and this one already is associated with my Biomed Miami Lab expansion Kona Space. And what I can do now is you can see we've got a couple new buttons up here on the Vision toolbar. One of them is Kona. And if I go ahead and click that Kona button while I'm in that opportunity that's associated with the Kona Space, what it's going to do is it's going to bring up Kona inside the Vision window, and it's going to bring me right to the space associated with that particular Kona, with that particular opportunity, so that I can start working and collaborating with my team via the Kona mechanism. So as I said, we feel very strongly about this aspect of social business and how important it's going to be to your organizations and how valuable it's going to be to your organizations moving forward. So we're starting to build these integration points into Vision so that you can leverage the Kona social collaboration platform wherever you are within Vision. And then the last thing I wanted to show in regards to sort of the highlights around Vision 7.1 relates to the navigation tree. As many of you know, we added user-defined info centers within Vision 7.0, and we've heard a lot of feedback that people would really like to associate icons with their user-defined info center items within the nav tree. And we have added that ability within Vision 7.1. It's very simple. You can see I've got a vehicles user-defined info center showing in my nav tree here. I can go ahead and go to that item in my navigation menu designer, and I can say I want to associate a car icon with that. Select my car icon, go ahead and click OK, and I now have an icon associated with that navigation tree. So a real simple thing, but again, just want to reinforce that we do listen to feedback, and this was something really simple that we wanted to put in the product as a result of us adding user-defined info centers in Vision 7.0. So that is Vision 7.1. I know that's a lot very quickly, but again, I want to get as much in front of you so you guys can really see the value that's available within Vision 7.1 and hopefully inspire you, if you haven't already, to go out there and download it and upgrade your systems of Vision 7.1. Vision 7.1 is available. We've had over 750 customers already download it. We've had some great feedback on the release itself, and I've got a quote on the screen here from one of our customers related to Vision 7.1. So we're very excited about this release, and as I said, hopefully the highlights that I show you here today will prompt you to go ahead and get it downloaded and start to use it and leverage the value that Vision 7.1 can bring to your organizations. So with that, let's talk about business intelligence. And this relates to the Vision Performance Management module that's available as a part of Vision 7.1. Now, Vision Performance Management module has been around for about 4 years now, but we've done a massive upgrade to it with the Vision 7.1 release. And when it comes to the Vision Performance Management module, we've really got some guiding principles that relate to the value and the sort of the value proposition of this particular module. And the whole idea behind the Vision Performance Management module is really to allow you and the people within your organizations to spend more time making decisions and less time sorting through the data. And this comes with role-appropriate consumption of performance data. We realize that different people, different roles within your organization require data and different types of data in different ways to be able to make those effective decisions that I talked about earlier. We also understand that goals are an important part of the decision-making process. If we don't know what success looks like, if we haven't defined success, how can we necessarily tell if we're meeting the organization's expectations? So goals are a key part of this module as well. And also historical analysis is important. You know, looking back, looking at actuals, how we've done, those types of things, absolutely important. But predictive analysis is important as well. And I think we feel that today more than ever, as a result of the social climate that we're in, we need to recognize a problem ahead of time so that we can change course and take corrective action so it doesn't become a serious problem within our organization. And that relates to real-time scrutiny as well and not after-the-fact reactions. We want to see something coming so that we can be proactive rather than have to be reactive down the road. And all of this, of course, leads to and relates to effective decision-making. Now, when it comes to the Vision Performance Management module, we have a data layer or analysis layer that got a pretty significant enhancement and set of improvements in Vision 7.0. We added configurability to types of data that you can include within this analysis layer that drives the Vision Performance Management module. We added the ability to add key performance indicators. Those are goals that you can set for your organization, as well as calculated measures, so that if the data we're providing you sort of out of the box is not just right, you can make some of your own calculated measures that you can then report on using the VPM module. We've also expanded multi-currency functionality in the Vision Performance Management module as a part of 7.0. And we added the ability to include user-defined fields in the analysis layer that powers the Vision Performance Management module in 7.0. In addition, and probably the most important part of the enhancements that we made in 7.0 in terms of the analysis layer of VPM, is we dramatically expanded the type of data that's available. We've expanded the project financials. We've added project planning and resource management. We've expanded accounts receivable information as well as DSO. We've added information about CRM and contract management, time analysis. We've expanded the general ledger functionality as well as expanded the budgeting information that is exposed in this analysis layer. So as I said, really a massive expansion in 7.0 in terms of the analysis layer and the data that's available within Vision Performance Management module. So with Vision 7.1, what we wanted to do is build on the expansion of that analysis layer with a new presentation layer. And when I say presentation layer, this is the component of the module that takes all of that data and presents it in graphical, interactive dashboards that your organization and the people, key stakeholders within your organization can react to and consume to make those effective decisions. And we're really excited to point out the fact that we have partnered with Tableau, which is arguably one of the top business intelligence providers in the world. And we now embed the Tableau solution in the Vision Performance Management module. And it really opens up organizational performance analysis like never before in terms of the types of the things that are available to you in making these effective decisions using the data that you can get out of Vision. So this is an example of how that presentation layer exposes itself within Vision. This is a new VPM dashboard as a part of Vision 7.1. In this case, this is a project manager sample dashboard that shows accounts receivable information for this project manager. So this is exposed inside of Vision, but what's really nice about this Tableau tool is you can expose it other places as well. It can be consumed directly within a browser, or it can be consumed on mobile devices. So what you're seeing here is a dashboard made from Vision data that's being viewed on an iPad through the Tableau mobile application. So again, trying to give you flexibility, like I said before, in terms of where you access and where you consume this information so that it's available to you when you need it. In addition, one of the key reasons that we selected Tableau is because of the authoring tool that it comes with. Now, we provide you with about 42 sample dashboards out of the box as a part of the Vision Performance Management module. And those are role-based dashboards, and you'll see some examples of those in a second. But we understand that we could provide, hundreds and hundreds of sample dashboards out of the box, but there would still be a need within your organizations to tweak some here and there or to build some of your own to match your organization's needs. And the authoring tool that comes with Vision Performance Management module as a part of the Tableau platform is extremely accessible and allows people within your organizations to build their own dashboards and then publish those and make those available inside of Vision. And I'll give you a glimpse of how that authoring tool works here in a second as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to Vision again here, and I'm going to show you some examples of how this new Vision Performance Management module works inside of Vision. So as I said before, we provide you with about 42 sample dashboards out of the box. Now those sample dashboards are role-based. So we serve the executive role, organizational manager role, principal in charge role, project manager role, resource manager role, business development manager role, and then the finance manager role. And all of those roles are sort of tailored, or those dashboards are tailored to sort of meet the typical needs of those various roles. So right now I'm logged in as someone that you'd see sort of as a C-level executive. And I've got all of the dashboards that are available to me as a C-level executive. So the first one I'm showing you here is called revenue analysis, sort of a high-level view of the entire organization from a revenue perspective. And I've got a number of different charts on this particular dashboard, but what you're seeing on this dashboard is the typical layout for all of the typical sample dashboards that come with VPM out of the box. At the top, I've got filters so that I can filter this data, and the charts themselves are very interactive as well. By default, I'm seeing the most recent 3 years in this particular database, which is 2010, 2011, and 2012. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of these filters, and I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I just want to see 2012. So I can go ahead and make those selections in my filters, and my dashboard updates in real time to do that. Now, as I said, the charts themselves are interactive as well. So say, for example, in my gross margin by project type chart that I have down here, say I just want to see the information for aviation for the rest of the dashboard. If I go ahead and click on that bar in my dashboard, I'm now seeing only aviation projects both in my cash receipts by company and my revenue analysis at cost. So very interactive in terms of filtering, but also in terms of drill down. Any place that I have drill down capability, I can see a plus sign that appears next to it. So in this case, I can drill down from my fiscal year to my fiscal quarters. And if I want, I can even go a level deeper and drill into my fiscal periods. So very interactive. I can hover over information to get additional information. I can sort information by various different sorting as well. So a lot of interactivity, a lot of flexibility in terms of this data and how you interact with it. Now, in addition to that revenue analysis, I also have information related to CRM. So here's an opportunity, wins, and projections, in this case by stage of project. Same types of filters at the top. The other thing that I'm seeing on this one is what's called a key performance indicator. This solid dashed black line is my key performance indicator. If I hover over that, I can see what my goal is from an opportunity revenue perspective. So look at this as an example of, I know what revenue I need to keep the engine running hot, if you will, in terms of opportunity revenue at any time, and I can see how I'm living up to that amount that I need using this key performance indicator. Another example of an executive level dashboard is this trends and multipliers dashboard. And in this case, what I'm seeing is common trends for common metrics within the database, so revenue, billed, unbilled for the past 3 years, and which way they're trending. And then I also have an effective multiplier bullet chart and a profit percent bullet chart. And these also include KPIs. So in this case, the solid black line is a key performance indicator for my profit percent, which is 14%. And then my effective multiplier is a KPI of 3 for this particular organization. So that's a quick look at the executive level dashboards that are available. If I go ahead and show you project manager dashboards, these are project manager dashboards that are specific to the project manager role. Here's one that's called charts at billing. I'm seeing various things like my variance percent, my realization ratio. I'm also seeing a revenue analysis at billing. I've got a variance tracking chart on here that is comparing my revenue with spent at billing, so I can see, when my revenue goes below my spent, and then my line changes orange, so I can see where a problem might occur. And then I can even see, say, more immediate information, things like project accounts receivable. In this case, I'm seeing aged AR in a stacked bar chart. In this case, the darker the blue, the longer the aging on that particular balance within my accounts receivable. So as I said, we get about 42 sample dashboards out of the box with the Vision Performance Management module, but we fully understand that there's a need within your organizations to tweak or build your own dashboards so that you can consume data in a very specific way for your organization. And as I said before, the Vision Performance Management module comes with what's called the desktop tool or authoring tool that allows you to either tweak the ones that we provide, the dashboards we provide, or build your own dashboard. And what I have on the screen here is an example of that desktop tool. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this because there's some technical stuff to this, but what I will say is if someone understands pivot tables in Excel, they can probably jump into this tool and start producing without hardly any training. In addition, because we've partnered with Tableau on this particular solution, Tableau has a lot of on-demand training that's available directly from their website that you can start to learn how to use this desktop tool. In addition, Deltek University will be offering courses related to using this desktop tool with Vision data. So even though it's very accessible and easy to start using without a lot of training, there's going to be a lot of resources for you to get even more detail and more in depth of how you use this tool. But just to give you a very quick example of how easy it is to build something with this tool, I'm connected to the analysis layer for the Vision Performance Management module. So I'm seeing on the top my dimensions, and on the bottom I'm seeing all of my measures. And let's just say, for example, that we wanted to do a quick look at revenue for this particular company. I'm just going to drag in my revenue amount here from my list of measures. And you can see now I've got a big revenue number that is essentially irrelevant right now because there's no context to it. But let's go ahead and add a little context. And what I can do now is I can say, I want to see this revenue, in this case, by the zip code of the primary client. So still not real relevant, but I'm going to show you why I did it this way here in a second. But now what you can see is I've got revenue numbers based on a zip code for all of the various zip codes that are in my database. Now over here I've got this Show Me tab, which shows me all the different types of visualizations that I can do within the Vision Performance Management module. There's typical things in here like bar charts, line charts, pie charts, some different ones like bullet charts, histograms, bubble charts, heat maps, tree maps, highlight tables. But one of the things that Tableau is very, very powerful with is geographic mapping as well. And I've got two examples of that up here. I'm going to go ahead and select what's called a symbol map. And what that's going to do is it's going to take that data that you're seeing in textual format here, and it's going to change it to a geography map. And now what I'm seeing is revenue for the various zip codes across the country, and the size of the circle in this case represents the amount of revenue. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my size here a little bit so that I can, so you can see this a little bit better. So now I can see sort of where the revenue is focused for this particular organization. I can take this even a level further, and I can go ahead and add another dimension to this. I'm going to go ahead and add project type, and I'm going to drag that, in this case, to what's called the color analysis. And I'm now seeing project types as well as revenue for project types across the entire organization. And I can even start to add things to this. I can make the map a little bit more graphically pleasing. And Tableau allows me to add things like demographic information, so I can see population growth across the country and how my revenue and project types might relate to that population growth. So very, very powerful desktop tool. You can see I did that analysis in all of a minute and a half in terms of building the table or the chart that you're seeing on the screen right now. And I can even zoom in on this to start to get a little bit more detailed information. Now what I can do with this is I can actually put this onto a dashboard and put it with other charts. So here you also see I have a profit revenue by project type at the bottom as well. And I could now publish this dashboard to Vision, and all the people within my organization could then consume this dashboard directly within Vision, just like the sample dashboards that we provide out of the box. So that's a look at the Vision Performance Management tool. Again, extremely powerful. We're very excited about this new release of the Vision Performance Management module as a result of it being based on the Tableau Business Intelligence platform. And like I said, it's really going to allow your organizations to do analysis and drive those effective decision-making processes within your organizations like never before. So let's talk about Navigator. I'm not going to read this entire slide off to you, but I wanted to get it on the screen to get it in front of this group because I want to make sure people understand what Navigator is. Navigator, and the premise behind it, Navigator is really meant to be that alternative front office interface for people that use Vision within your organization in a much more streamlined and consolidated manner that the core Vision client is. You know, we want to give the people, these front office workers, if you will, just what they need to do their job, all in a very inviting and accessible interface. And that's what Navigator's been all about since day one, since we introduced it just over 1.5 years ago. And we're very excited of what we've been able to accomplish with Navigator in a very short time. And the initial focus with Navigator has really been around project management. We felt that was the most valuable spot that we could hit on within your organizations to drive that adoption and increase that ROI that you're getting from the Vision product. And equally as important, get more accurate and more complete information into your system so that your back office workers can have that information to do that analysis and do that processing that they need that benefits the business as a whole. So as I said, Navigator is a front office tool meant to be accessible and used by all your front office workers, but we really have focused on the project management aspect of things so far. Navigator, important to point out, is included as a part of Vision Core. It's not a separate module that needs to be purchased separately. It is a part of Vision Core, and it's a browser-based application, and it's browser agnostic, meaning it'll work in Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari on a Mac, and the browsers on your tablet devices. Again, this gets to that accessibility, anywhere, anytime accessibility of the tools that we're trying to provide you. And the project management aspect of this really allows you to review project performance and key metrics. It allows you to build and maintain project plans, which I'll show you here in a second. It allows you to collaborate with team members using an integration with Kona. And ultimately, from a project management perspective, we want this to be a one-stop shop for all things project management. We're not there yet, but we're moving very, very rapidly to get to that point. And one of the other things that we've done this year is expanded past the project management role into sort of the general employee front office worker role. So what now is available as a part of Navigator as of earlier this year is timesheet functionality is available in Navigator. And this is important because it, again, increases that accessibility to, in this case, the timesheet functionality. For example, if you have users that use Mac computers, they can now do their timesheets in Navigator on a Mac. This, again, Navigator is part of Core, so there's no additional purchase for this. It is part of the Vision Core product. And we're looking to start adding employee expense reports in 2014 as well to expand sort of that general employee focus. But let's look at Navigator Live so you can start to see how Navigator can benefit your organizations. And while I'm bringing up Navigator here, there's one thing I want to point out. As I said earlier, and said a few times, Navigator is included with Vision Core. It's not a separate module that you need to purchase. It's part of Core. It's a separate download from the Deltek Software Manager. And it's important for you to understand, I think, going into this, that Navigator is there's really little risk in you starting to use it. It's very easy to get installed, up and running within your organization, and there's very little risk in you taking a look at it and see how it might benefit your organization. So I strongly encourage you, if you have not downloaded Navigator already, please do take a look at it, get it installed, and start to understand how it can benefit your organization. So what we're looking at here is the Navigator interface. By default, I see a list of projects off to the left, and I have a dashboard off to the right. Now the list of projects off to the left can be any list of projects. I can see projects where perhaps I'm just the project manager, or I'm the principal in charge, or that belong to a specific level of organization within my company, or I can build my own selection sets and see a very specific list of projects. And as I said before, this is meant to be a lot more inviting interface to project managers so that they like to use it and they like to spend time in it. So hopefully you can see that the graphical and the sort of the user interface side is really sort of pushed more towards that consumer side of the ball, so that it's appealing to those people that are going to use this tool on a day-to-day basis. So you can see, like I said before, I have a dashboard and I have my list of projects. One of the things that we're trying to do as much as possible in Navigator is try to do sort of heads-up analysis, so that a project manager, when they log in, they can go ahead and see what needs attention right away. So right off the bat, we've got these indicators within the project list that show me that there might be something going on with that project that needs my attention. If I hover over one of these, it tells me what that particular warning is for. So in this case, it's telling me that there's no expense contract, and the consultant estimate at completion is higher than the contract. And as I hover over these different ones, it's telling me other information, no expense contract, and this one is going to tell me that the expense estimate at completion is higher than contract. Now the dashboard is very, very powerful. We give you 4 charts, 4 spots for charts, but we give you a number of different charts that are available. I'm going to go ahead and select a different project here. I'm going to select the DG Enterprises Atlanta to give you an idea of the type of information that's available within the dashboard. In this particular case, I'm seeing my contract information, so the total gross contract as well as how that's broken down. I'm seeing a labor plan timeline with my baseline, so I can see what my baseline is, what my actual is, what my planned is. I can see consultant progress, so I can see how much of a consultant's contract has been billed. And I can also see my aged accounts receivable in this case, so I know where I'm standing with AR on this project. Now this is just 4 charts that I have available right now, but I can switch things out and say, for example, instead of aged accounts receivables, I want to see my expense progress. I can go ahead and switch and see progress on my expenses. Or if I want to see something like expense plan summary, I can go ahead and select that and see how my expenses break down for this particular project. So again, the idea with the dashboard is to really give you very quick information without having to run a report or dig deep into any data to see what's going on with my projects. Now the planning tab is where I go to actually build my plan. And I'm very excited to say that with the 1.6 release, which is coming out tomorrow, we now have sort of the full planning scope covered where you can plan labor, expenses, and consultants all directly within the Navigator tool. So I'm just going to walk through that real quick so you can kind of see how these plans get built. So right now I'm on the contract page of the planning tab, and I'm seeing my contract breakdown both in visual format as well as in textual format. And then I can also see how this breaks down across my WBS. So a real quick glimpse for me as the project manager on how my contract breaks down in this particular project. You can also see that I've got little triangular notifications in some of these cells telling me that my plan is now greater than my allowance in this case. So that might be a heads up that I want to take a look at. But when it comes to actually building my plan, if I switch to the labor page here now, this is where I'm actually going to go to build my project plan. So in this case, I can see all the work breakdown structure, my project phase and task, and I can start to add and edit the resources that make up this particular project. So in this case, I expanded the construction documents tab or phase. I'm going to go ahead and click and add a resource. I'm going to select Alexander, go ahead and click Finish. Alexander's now going to be in this list. And at this point, I can edit his estimate to complete hours, say he's going to do 600 hours on this project. And I can estimate that in a lump sum, or I can estimate it in a calendar format. So I have the ability to do it across time or just a lump sum amount. For expenses, I have the ability to add my expense information here, just like I do for labor. So I can go ahead and click plus and add an expense. Let's go ahead and do travel expense. I can select a vendor for that expense if I want to. I can go ahead and switch to cost, and I can enter in $5,000 for that particular expense. And then the same thing for consultants. I can go ahead and say, let's go to design development, and I want to add a new consultant to design development. I'm going to go ahead and add other consultants, click Finish. I can go ahead and select my consultant name from my vendors. And then I can go ahead and say that we're planning $50,000 for this particular consultant. And as I'm doing this, as I'm making all these changes, all of my charts and tables and everything that relate to the organization or to relate to this particular plan are updating in real time as I save my plan. So extremely powerful functionality in terms of building your project plan. Now, the other aspect of Navigator relates to the general employee functionality, and this relates to timesheets, as I said before. Not a lot to show you here because we all know what a timesheet looks like in Vision. I'm going to go ahead and open one up so you can see it. But this is the timesheet functionality that's available within Navigator. So I can work on my timesheet here just like I would work on it within Vision and do my timesheet inside the Navigator interface. So that's a very quick look at Navigator. A lot of functionality there that we all want you to start taking advantage of and leveraging within your organization. As I said before, there's very little risk in starting to take a look at Navigator. It does come with the core product, nothing additional to purchase, simple install. You can get it installed and start taking a look at it and figure out how it can benefit your organization. So let's finish up by talking a little bit about our mobile offerings. Touch Time is available today, support for both iOS and Android devices. This is also a part of Core Vision. Just so you know, there is a server-side component, the Touch Server, and then also the app download, the app that you install from your device. We've had over 14,000 downloads of the Touch Time app to date since introducing it officially earlier this year. We're going to be doing another release. We did another release in June that added units functionality to it, and we're doing another release in December that will add start and end times, breaks, and lunch times to it. And then approvals for timesheets will be coming in 2014. Here's another product or component of Vision that has low risk for you guys to get in and start using. As I said, it's a part of core product. You can download it, install it, and start taking a look at it and providing more accessibility for your timesheets within your organizations. We all know how tricky it is to get timesheets done. If we can make it a little bit easier for people, that's great. Touch CRM, which was introduced earlier this year as well. Just like Touch Time, support for iOS and Android devices. It's available as part of the CRM module, no additional purchase if you own the CRM module. Just like Touch Time, it has a server-side component and an app download. We've had about 1,500 downloads to date. This one's only been available since a little bit earlier this year, so not as much time as Touch Time, but it is growing in its usage as well. We did a release in June that added opportunity support, and we'll be doing a release in December that adds activity viewing. And one last thing I just want to point out is we do have our cloud offering as well. For those of you that may want to switch to using Vision in the cloud, remember that we do offer Vision by the cloud. Easy to build, simple to own, and secure to access. It's the same powerful Vision solution that all of you are familiar with, only delivered via the cloud, reducing some of your overhead, maintenance, and administration. And we introduced the cloud offering just over a year ago, and we've seen its growth, or we've seen it grow pretty significantly. This is an example of the number of customers, the number of users that we've seen switch to the cloud offering in the past year. So lastly, just some key takeaways before we finish up for the day. We've done a lot. There's a lot more coming. Navigator 1.6, as I said, will be available tomorrow. Vision 7.2 will be available in December. You can hear more about that as we get closer. And then we're going to keep up with that release cadence that I talked about earlier. We'll do a summer release for Vision 7.3 and a winter release for December for Vision 7.4. And of course, Navigator and Touch Time releases along the way. So what's the key takeaway for today, or the key takeaways? Vision 7.1 is available today. A lot of great new powerful functionality in there. Get it, download it, start using it. Navigator 1.6, the newest version of Navigator, available tomorrow, completes the planning component. Labor, expenses, and consulting planning available, as well as timesheets. Touch Time and Touch CRM available today. Get it, download it, start using it. And we've got new releases coming in December, Vision 7.2, Touch 1.2, and Navigator 1.7. So if you haven't seen Vision lately, it's time to take a closer look. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. I hope that we were able to get your questions in real time. Just a couple of last slides. If you do want to learn more about Vision Performance Management Module, we are doing live demos at a regular basis right now. The next one is on the 13th, and then the following one is on the 27th. In addition, we are looking for early adopter participants for our Vision 7.2 and Touch 1.2 releases. If anyone is interested in being a part of that early adopter program, please contact us, and we'll see if we can get you into the program. Your feedback and your testing with our early adopter programs is critical to our success and the quality of our product. So we appreciate that involvement and would like to know if anybody was interested. And of course, everything I talked about today, you can learn more about through Deltek University. Education drives and accelerates adoption. Don't ever forget that. And of course, our Deltek Services Group can help you with implementation of all these things, upgrades, and can also help you with things like pre-build info centers and workshops related to usage of Vision. So again, thank you for your time today. I hope we've gotten most of your questions in real time here. I'll hang on the line here and see if there's any other questions that we might want to answer through the GoToMeeting tool. If not, that'll be the end of our webinar today. And again, thank you all for your time, and have a great day.
Hey, Brett, this is Michelle. For anybody still on the line, I just want to say we got overwhelmed with questions today. So there's a lot of questions that we'll be reaching out to the individual people to answer, but questions were coming in at a very fast rate.
I think that's good.
Yep.
That means people were listening, right?
Yep, fantastic. So we've answered some. We've got a team of people working on answering others, so we'll get those answers to people as soon as possible.